Good morning, guys. So, sorry, that was my cat trying to jump up on the table. Okay, what a way to start a video. Anyways, we are going to be talking about biographies in this video. And this is so fun because we've already read some really cool biographies in the classroom. If you can think about it, I want you to see if you can figure out what a biography is. If you remember, I'll give you a little hint. We read a book about Malala Yousafzai, and that was a biography. So think about what were some of the characteristics of that book, the Malala book, that might have made it a biography. All right. So in that book, in that biography, it talked about a real life person. Okay. So Malala Yousafzai is real, right? We read about her life. So the purpose of biographies, the entire reason that they exist, the purpose is to tell you about a person, right? A real person. I'm going to put a real person. A real person. So when we read that book about Malala, that was a biography because it was telling us about a real person. And what it did was it told about her life, all right? And biographies are told usually in chronological order, all right? So more often than not, they'll be in chronological order, which means they start from beginning. So when that person is born to end, when that person dies, or as far as we know about that person. Like the Malala book, she didn't die. She's still alive, but it just ended with her most recent achievement. That means the thing that happened to her at the most recent time. All right, so she won that medal, and that's where the book ended. So, the purpose of a biography is to tell you about a real person. Okay, so some of the elements of a biography are that it's written by another person. So a biography is never written by the person it's about. That's totally different. That's called an autobiography. So if Malala wrote a book about herself, that would be called an autobiography, not a biography. Okay, so elements written by someone else. So biographies are not written by the person they're about. So if I wrote a book about Abraham Lincoln, it would be a biography. If I wrote a book about myself, it would be an autobiography. All right? If you wrote a book about yourself, it would be an autobiography, not a biography. Okay? All right. Another element is that it doesn't have to be about all of a person's life. So it can be about all or some of their life. So it doesn't always have to be from like when they were born to when they died. All right? It can be just about a part of their life. All right? And then it also tells how the person affected others. So remember when we read about Malala, it talks about what she did and it talks about how it changed things, right? It didn't just say, oh, this happened and that was that. It talked about how all these things that happened to her changed the world and it brought attention to all these things that were happening in the Middle East. And she won the Nobel Peace Prize because it gave her all these opportunities to talk and tell people about these things that were happening that weren't fair, right? And so now she is someone that a lot of people know, all right? So it tells about how they affect others. All right, so it's telling about how they affect others, right? Not just what happened to them, but how they affect others. All right, and then we're going to also talk about the text structures. All right, and I mentioned one of these already. All right, I'm going to give another little separation here. So text structure, so this means, remember, like what's going on in the actual book, the text. So I remember I said it's in chronological order, so from beginning to end, chronological order. So it starts at the beginning. It's not going to start with, Malala won the Nobel Peace Prize and then jump back in time. And she was born and blah, 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 blah. All right? It's not going to do that. All right? So biographies are also really descriptive. All right? They use a lot of big descriptive language. Okay? So that means they're going to really flesh out a story. They're going to really talk about the environment, the things that happen, because remember, they tell about how these things affect others. So they're not going to only talk in like one or two sentences about these things. They're really going to go into a lot of detail about it. Okay? And then since they also talk about how these things affect others, obviously this is a cause and an effect. So remember in our Malala book, Malala was hurt by the Taliban. So a lot of people were really upset. So the cause was she was hurt, and the effect was people were upset. All right? So there's cause and effect. All right? Cause and effect. And then lastly, there's a problem and a solution. Okay? So again, same. The problem was the Taliban were saying that women couldn't go to school, and the solution was Malala started to talk to people about how this wasn't fair and this wasn't right, right? Okay, so problem and solution. Problem and solution. All right, so these are some of the characteristics of biographies, okay? We're going to be reading a story for this week called One Plastic Bag. I'm going to be doing another vocabulary preview, but I want you to keep this in mind. See what text features and what elements you notice in the story that I read whenever I post it up, okay? So keep this in mind, and remember, you can always come back and look at this video if you forget, okay? All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.